Welcome to another edition of Inside Plano. I'm Amanda McNew here with Shannah Hayley. And before we introduce our guest, I want to start by saying you helped us avoid a fight, our first fight today.
I know.
We love dogs, and we had to have a discussion over who got to sit by the dog today.
I know. I took one for the team. I'm sitting on the outside, and probably Glory B at home will be happy that I sat a little further away.
Fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. So, as we say that, so today we have special guests. We have Kevin Rosser, his
Hello.
mother. Yes, his mother, Angelina, and Oreo. So, thank you for joining us today. So, Kevin, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm 11 years old. I don't do a lot of interviews.
That's okay. How about for Mom, why don't you tell us, when people meet Kevin, what was something that you would like people to know about Kevin?
Kevin is a very talented, fun individual. He brings so much joy and light to our lives and those around him. He has definitely overcome a big medical journey, but he doesn't ever let it stop him. And he's a smart fifth grader here in Plano, and he just turned 11 in January.
Kevin's definitely not shy. We can tell that too. And like you said, you've been on a big journey as a family. What's happened on the health journey?
Yeah, so Kevin was born with some complications. His delivery was complicated, and
It was a long time before they realized I had POTS.
Oh, wow.
when he was 18 months old, Kevin passed out for the first time, and it was kind of unresolved. Nobody knew why. And so we went on a long journey of feeding therapy and aspiration therapy and stem therapy and all different kinds of things to figure out what was going on. And that worked, and it helped for a season. And then during that season, we were about to start kindergarten, and we had just moved to Plano. We hadn't been here very long. And the City of Plano and just the people of Plano were just surrounded us with love and care. And Kevin was diagnosed as an individual with autism at the age of 4, officially through the school district, and went to early Head Start program to obtain skills to be able to go to school and do all of those things. As we're going on this journey, we're continuing to have some issues. Kevin was born with a megacolon, and so we realized at that point that first grade a cecostomy was needed, so we placed a cecostomy and went a little further on our journey. And then as he was going along this journey, he continued to pass out on us. And many ambulances have come to our home to take him to the hospital, and really didn't have any answers what it was. And about a year and a half ago, one of his amazing doctors at Children's Health said, "I think this kid has POTS." And she said, "We need to get more evaluation for that." And so I was like, "Oh, what's POTS?" I'd never heard of it. I had no idea what that was. And on that journey, they did find that he does, in fact, have POTS. It's very uncommon for a male child to have this condition. Mostly it's females that are over the age of 16. Usually puberty starts the process for the condition. And so that's why it was so hard to diagnose, because it was just very unusual. And lots of things were placed. He had a portacath placed this past summer so we can do home infusions. And at that time, pediatricians stated that a service dog would be a great ideal for him for independence and going forward, and to help if there's a cardiac event related to the nervous system condition, that the dog can assist with that and alert. So he could go to school and maybe someday ride a train system to go to work or whatever the case may be. So that's been our journey, and most of that journey has happened here in Plano. We moved here when he was 18 months old. And met some just really great people along the way.
Yep.
So tell us, how did the Plano community get involved in this journey?
So really, the service dog kind of came out of nowhere. It was kind of one of those things we talked about with the pediatrician, and then they reached out to a company called Indigo Canine Company in Orange City, Florida, and they told me I wouldn't hear for a year. So I'm like, okay. So I didn't even really mention it to my husband, because I thought, well, it's going to be a year. We'll talk about it when it comes. And in January, this was in November, and in January they called, and we began an application process with them, and within 4 weeks of that application, Kevin was matched to Oreo. Oreo was not her original name. Kevin did get to rename her because she was still very young at that point. And so that's how we got matched to that. And when you think of medical stuff, you think we have health insurance. It's going to help you do all of that. And we quickly learned that service dogs are not covered under health insurance. And Oreo's price tag was $14,000. And I was like, well, that is going to be an issue because, it's expensive. And so we began a journey of just, talking to our friends. And I had a friend that said, Angelina, you give so much back to this community because we own a children's business here in Plano. And she was like, you're always doing this and volunteering. Why don't you just ask for a GoFundMe? And I was like, oh, absolutely not going to do that. That was just not something I wanted to do. And 2 friends convinced us, and so we put it out there, and within 9 hours, we'd raised $4,000. And I was like, okay, maybe this is the answer to this. And the City of Plano, from the school district teachers to friends to
Canes.
Raising Canes to our Minifig Adventures, children's parents, churches, you name it, they came together. From $5 donations to $1,000 donations, it all added up. And Oreo was paid for in a little under 4.5 months. And so we were able to send off the final check to the training facility that she was at, and she was officially Kevin's at that point. So we couldn't pick her up because she still needed training. We thought we would end up with a dog ready to go home that wasn't paid for. But the city, just the community of this city came around us. And, we just will be forever thankful for that. I never imagined it would happen that quickly. We're not a well-known family. We just do our thing and go to school and all of that. And then it became the journey with Plano ISD so that Kevin could take Oreo to school with him. And they made that a wonderful process. It was complicated. It's a lot of documents. It's a lot of doctor's notes. It's a lot of things like that. But even that, they surrounded us with that. We had an ARD meeting that had 15 people in it. They brought the top of the top to that meeting to make sure that Kevin had the services he needed. So we'll be, like I said, our family will be forever thankful for the city and the people of this community.
So Kevin, was there ever a time that you were like, wow, this is super cool. People care about you and wanted you to have your own service dog. Was that a cool thing? Made you stop and think?
Yeah.
Yeah? What was the most exciting thing about that process?
When I heard we fully raised, you remember the Jeremiah's, right? Before they closed down, there's going to be a fundraiser there, but the time scheduled for it was after we fully raised all the money, so that was a little funny.
Oh my gosh. That was a big surprise though, wasn't it?
I thought it was going to be until like 3 weeks before we get her, that we would finally pay it off.
What'd you tell your mom and dad when they told you that she was fully paid for?
What did I say?
I think your response was in shock. You just kind of looked at me like, so she's really mine? And you got a big smile on your face. And then lots of questions came like, okay, now we're really doing this, because we always knew there was a possibility that we wouldn't be able to raise the funds. And at that point, his joy for it really kicked in, that this dog was his.
I was so happy.
So for people out there who are listening to this show and not being able to see, Kevin, why don't you describe Oreo to everybody out there? Talk about your dog a little bit.
She's the greatest thing ever. She's super chill, and she's just the greatest thing.
So what kind of dog is she?
A Great Dane, 100% Great Dane.
How big is she? Because some people, if they're watching the show, she's laying down for those who are just listening. So she's laying between us. So it can be a little surprising how big she actually is.
If she's standing up and I'm standing up, currently she's about here. But in the future, she has a year to grow. She'll probably be about up here.
Wow.
Big boy.
That's a big
Actually,
dog.
big girl. Sorry.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, her paws are huge.
Yeah.
She has very big paws. That's everybody comments on that. Her paws are huge.
So did you come up with the name Oreo right away, or did you think about it for a while?
I didn't come up with it until I first looked at a picture of her, and I saw her face and how it had a little line in it. So I was like, oh, Oreo's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
And she wanted to name it Lego, but I thought, but yeah, that's how I came up with the name Oreo. So.
What's your favorite thing about her so far? Or what do you love most? You mentioned she's chill.
She's also a very people dog,
Mm-hmm.
which kind of sucks that she isn't allowed to be pet while she's in working, because she loves pets.
So you were able to go to Raising Cane's recently and have classmates and people pet her before when she was off duty, right? Tell us about that night.
The reason we let people pet her on that night is just to have them. How do I say this?
Well, what did they say when they got to see her there?
They loved her. They were so excited that we were able to pay for her.
Was it your classmates that came to meet her?
Just a lot of family and friends.
So people who might want to pet her most of
Yeah.
the time, that you maybe don't want to let pet her all of the time.
Yeah.
So was it like a special occasion that this is your
Yeah,
one-time deal?
Because the reason we did is because at normal times they don't constantly ask to go pet, so they can get all their wanting to pet done there. So that's why we did that.
All right, so for Mom, what is the right thing for people to say when they see a medical alert service dog, which is what it says on the side of her vest? What is the etiquette for people if they want to pet a dog like this? What should they actually say to somebody?
Well, in any dog, I think any dog, not just service dogs, but any dog that a child or adult wants to approach, the owner should be asked. The handler should be asked, whether it's just a pet at the dog park or whatever, because you never know how a dog's going to react. So we've always taught our kids from a young age, you always ask first. So lots of people ask us, can we pet the dog? And unfortunately, our answer is, unfortunately, she's working. We can't have you pet her. The dog trainers have told us, Kevin's first answer was, I prefer you not. And the dog trainer said, you need to be more, no, you can't pet, because maybe they do prefer, and so they will. So the response really is, to ask. And then if it's not a service dog, you may be able to pet them. There are some service dogs you can pet that are different types of service dogs. Unfortunately, Oreo's not one of those because she's always working and on alert. So that is the hardest part, because we're very people friendly. She loves people too. She won't approach them, but she does love people. And so that is the hardest part, to deny people that helped us get her the access to pet her. But it is for Kevin's safety.
And she tries to sniff everybody.
She does like to smell. She's very, she's trained like a drug dog is. So like the military trains dogs, that's how she is trained. And so everything is high scent for her, because she's looking for the scent of blood pressure change, heart drop. And she did actually alert us already on this past Saturday with Kevin and his blood pressure. So it was incredible to watch her in action.
Talk about that a little bit.
So we were at the house, and Kevin's blood pressure
No, it was a hotel.
It was at the house this past Saturday.
Oh.
At the house this past Saturday, and his blood pressure was so high it wouldn't register on the cuffs. And so Oreo immediately alerted, jumped up on him, pushed, was holding him down like a death grip so that he couldn't get up. And Kevin's like, I have a really bad headache. I'm not feeling good. And so we were able to get her off and get him the care that he needed. But she stayed on top of him, pressure, for a good 2 hours probably after that, after he was deemed to be okay. She wasn't leaving her person until she knew that she was okay. But it's a great relief as a parent to have a child that does go to public school with a serious medical condition, to know that I have somebody watching, for these occasions to happen. And to watch her react after 11 days was unheard of. So she's pretty special.
So what is that like for parents? So there's probably some type of onboarding when Oreo moved into the house. So were you expecting an alert? Did you know what you were looking for and what it meant?
No, so we picked her up in Florida and we brought her home. There is like a 2-week transition period that we've just completed today. So this even happened before that. And it's learning each other, learning what her needs are, what our needs are, all of those things as we go. And she came home with a little container that has holes in it for scent. So we took samples from Kevin so that she knows what those smell like when his blood pressure is high or low, or when he's been exercising or playing outside. And you do a quick training with her on that because she's already trained on the process, so now it's just a new scent. And she picked it up immediately. And so that afternoon it happened and she was ready to work, you know. And what was interesting about that is she's in gear right now, so she's working. She wasn't in gear at that time. She was at home just relaxing because when we're at home we don't have to have her in gear all the time. And she responded even without being in gear. So, you know, it's truly a task that she's been trained to do. So it's pretty impressive.
So you talk about at school. So a lot of parents, you know, you think about the first day of school for your kid, you know, watching them, leaving them at school. For you, this is almost like a first day again when he went to school with Oreo for the first time. How does that feel as a parent, seeing your child go to school with Oreo?
Well, I held it together till he got through the front doors of the school, and then I cried. I cried for about 2 hours after I dropped him off. There's just a lot that goes into it. It was a lot of work for the community to raise the money. We have all this, the training. We're trying to follow all the things so we don't mess anything up. And it's a big goal day to get to school with the dog and Mom walk away. And that day happened. And so it was just more emotion than I could handle. I was coming back to the car and one of the teachers was standing there. She's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I don't think so." And I just got in the car and went home and got some coffee and just relaxed for the rest of the day. I was pretty much worthless the first day, just like kindergarten. I mean, it was, you know, his first kindergarten day was COVID, so we were not allowed to go in the school. Thank goodness my daughter had already been to that school, so I knew everybody in their process. But it was very much like that, dropping off and walking away from it. But when I came back to get him, I said, "How did it go?" And he was like, "It was great. She was awesome." And today teachers were telling me how wonderful she is. So it's okay. But I described it to somebody the other day. I said, it's like putting your teenage driver on the 75 for the first time without you in the car. And it's like, good luck with that very expensive thing you're leaving with. And so that's what it was like for me. It was like, you know, because I'm teaching my daughter to drive right now, and that's very much what it was like. And so we joke because we got 2 kids learning mobility, one learning to drive and one learning to mobility with the dog. And so, but it was very challenging for me to walk away from it, but also very rewarding and very proud of him. Like, he has done an incredible job of managing her and taking care of her and doing everything. He never gets frustrated if we say, you know, she might need to go out. He's like, absolutely. It's like his new best friend.
So taking care of her is your job?
Yes, partially. This wonderful woman obviously helps me.
Yes. But you have responsibilities too for taking care of her. So if you could, since she came with all of these tasks that she already knows how to do, if you could teach her one thing, just one thing for fun, what would you teach her how to do? It's a hard question, I know.
To get me a Coke can out of the refrigerator and without destroying the Coke can.
Ooh, that is a serious skill level.
But she could probably do that pretty easily.
Yeah,
so,
she's got a big
that's
enough
a good
mouth.
one.
She could probably get it all the way in.
It's probably going to have a lot of slobber on it.
That's
Jane
right.
slobber.
Extra liquid.
I would wash it before you drink
I bet
it.
she could do it, though.
I bet she could too. She seems
can.
really smart.
We definitely can train to retrieve water, so I'm sure that, you know, and she is so smart. It does not take long for her to pick up a task. So you should try it.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
My only concern is the Coke can will just go.
And then the Coke would go.
Not the greatest. Maybe with Gatorade.
Exactly.
Yeah, start small.
Tougher bottle,
That's
yeah.
right.
She's pretty gentle, though.
Yeah.
She is.
So she looks like she could almost take a nap. I mean, her eyes are open, so she's clearly. How do you know that she's working or on alert versus not?
So mostly it's the gear, and she is pretty much always on alert because she's an alert trained dog. She will go full asleep sometimes, and I'm like, okay, so what's happening now? But as the dog trainer told me, when they were training her, they'd put food in front of her or a scent in front of her, and she would wake right up. Like, so she smells it because their sensories are much higher than us as humans, and so she's gonna smell whatever it is. Even if she's dead asleep, she's gonna wake up. And it's funny how she can go from like sound asleep to up and alerting and ready to go in like 2 seconds. And she's not a small dog, so getting her whole body up, she can do it very quickly. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey to know. She's really always working, even though she may not always be in her gear. Mm-hmm. She won't run and jump over things unless she's completely out of her gear and running in our yard. Like, we have to kind of prompt that because she's a working dog. So she's like, oh, we can play now. And she has a lamb chop that is her favorite toy. And so we bring out the lamb chop. Yeah. She knows, okay, we're going to play now. So
I'm just really fascinated that she already knows what to do, not tasks, but that she already knows you're her person, Kevin, because they always talk about 3-3-30 with dogs, 3 days for them to feel safe in your house, 3 weeks to feel like they know what you want them to do, and 3 months to feel at home. But 11 days and she was already doing her job because you're her person. Did that surprise you? Were you happy, or did you expect that?
I did not know any of that was true until you just said it. So
really?
that didn't surprise me. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty cool. You have a special dog that kind of went around the rules, and in a good way.
It was an instant match. It was an instant, you're my person. Immediately when we met her, she just fell in love with Kevin. And that was I get emotional just talking about it. It was a very special moment. We knew that this was a match. And so the dog trainers have been amazed at that as well, how quickly she became ours. And of course, she was facility trained. So she lived in a facility. She never lived in a home until she came to us. She went to a foster home for a few days before we picked her up, just to kind of get used to there's a back door, and all that kind of thing. So we're her first home,
Like home.
They took great care of her. They were amazing there, but this is home. And so she's very loving the life of the couch and the floor and the carpet, and she's living it up. We laughed because we took her to a restaurant the other day here in Plano. It's a small space, and I thought, man, I don't know how we're going to do this because it's always busy and there's not enough room, and she fit right underneath the table and nobody even knew she was there. So she's just really, we crossed over the Texas state line and we all said, welcome home, Oreo, and then all of our friends on Facebook have put welcome home, and the City of Plano, like all our friends that live in Plano are like, Plano has the best dog, all those things. So it was instant. It is weird because it should be a little bit longer process, but even school, she went right in and was like she's been there since he was in kindergarten. So
she knows where she's meant to be.
She does. So, and again, none of it would have been possible without the community. Like, it really.
Well, one thing you both mentioned, you had to ask for help. And, a lot of people go through very challenging circumstances. I know, you've met lots of families in challenging environments at Children's Health and even in the school district and around town. What advice would you give to others who need to ask for help, don't know how to ask for help, to rely on their community to support them?
I think that was the biggest lesson for me out of this, because I've always been like, well, we'll take care of it. There's people that need it more than we do, those kinds of things. But the reality was we needed the help. We're business owners here in Plano, but we still needed the assistance. There's, health insurance only goes so far, and there just wasn't an option. We have lots of medical bills because of his conditions and things. And so it was like, okay, and I always say, just ask, because you never know who's waiting on the other side. And we had people donate that I would have never thought would have donated, and they did. And so I would say just ask, because you never know what's on the other side, especially in the city of Plano. This place is just, it's like the happiest place on earth. It's just, people are just so helpful.
Plano's a great city.
Do you have advice you'd give people who need to ask for help? What should they do?
I'm going to be honest, I don't know a whole lot, but all I know, fundraisers are good to help.
Yeah.
If you ask, the answer can often be yes, right?
Yep.
We wrote a lot of thank you cards.
Yeah.
We did that. That was important to us, that we sent a picture of Oreo on the front of it, and on the inside of it, we actually, towards the end, we started printing them because we had over 1,000 of them. So we put, like a little story from Oreo, like I hear that I'm Texas-sized, and, all those kinds of things. And I hear that everything's a big deal in Plano. Just a really cute little story that went with it. And that was important. That was important for Kevin. That was important for me, that they really knew that we appreciated it, and people that came around us was just random. And we used to live in New Mexico as well, so we had even donations from New Mexico, just from online. The power of social media and the power of online platforms
It's crazy nowadays.
is crazy.
Yep.
What it can produce and what it can do. And she wouldn't be laying here if it wasn't for all of that.
Well, Kevin, is there anything else that you want people in Plano to know or to hear from you?
If anyone's looking for a chess game, I'm available.
That sounds awesome.
I want to hear more about that. Are you really good at chess?
I would say I'm not bad.
Maybe a future chess team member. Maybe.
Sounds like it.
He's been to a couple of competitions.
That's
He's learning his ways. Dad is a big time chess player, so he is learning his ways, and sister plays, and I'm now realize I am the least talented chess player in my home. I have been surpassed, and that is okay.
By all three of us.
And so Oreo spends a lot of time laying by the chessboard, and she's okay with that. So, but yeah, he loves chess.
Or a screen that has a chessboard on it.
Exactly. As you're practicing your moves, studying strategy.
Play online.
Yep.
Does having Oreo change anything that you do, whether it's day-to-day or vacations or anything? Is it going to change your lifestyle in any way?
Vacations outside of America, I have no idea.
We have been on several cruises. We like to cruise, and that is a question now because the laws are different once you board a cruise ship. You're not as protected as you are in the United States, and so those are things that we have to figure out. But she's worth it if we have to wait. And, people do take them on cruise ships, so it's just something that we have to learn. Kevin is in Scouting of America, and so he will be camping with his troop, and Oreo is registered and ready. And so she has a little uniform on the way.
Oh, perfect. I was going to ask if she was going to get her little
she's gonna get a
scout
uniform,
scarf.
and so she'll be traveling wherever they go. And being a part of that. So we plan to live life as normal as possible. We have a big desire to keep him in public school, and so it's a complicated process, but it's something we really wanted to do, and so we're hoping that we can do that and still travel. Probably the biggest thing is we had to sell our car and buy a bigger car. Our dear friends purchased that vehicle for us first, and then we were able to pay them for that vehicle. So, just people have done
So
crazy
much.
nice things for us. So I'm driving a big old school bus van now, so we got plenty of room for Oreo and Kevin and all his friends. But that was probably some of the biggest change, was not going to fit in the car with the two kids and my mother and Dad and the luggage if we go somewhere. So and everything we do has to be planned. We have to think about it. You can't just jump up and run to the somewhere anymore. Although I will say we have not been told no anywhere we've been in Plano. There are places that have the right to say no, and we have not received that yet. Everybody, mostly they're in shock because how big she is. So it's like I don't think they know what to say, but they have been welcoming and caring, and we've not been told no. So
that's awesome.
I'm so glad we live in Plano.
Well, we're glad you live in Plano too, and we're very glad to have Oreo as our newest resident in Plano for sure.
I hope to see some bluebonnet photos soon.
Yes.
I know.
I was also just thinking, I think she's already earned, a Scouting life-saving badge.
For sure.
She's already well on her way to.
I'm ready for the pledge.
Yes, exactly.
Yes. So we're hoping that she.
Bring her when your Scouting troop signs up to lead the pledge at council meeting.
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Yes. That would be really fun to do that. So we've, that's been what's great about the Scouts and school and everywhere. She's just now part of it, It's like, and it's almost like she's always been there. And it's been a very short period of time, but she's just goes along with whatever, and she is super chill. That is very nice about her. She is not high maintenance.
I think she's going to go down as our most chill podcast guest
I think so.
While y'all
I
talk,
mean,
I'm
no
gonna take a
nerves.
No nerves. I mean, she could probably just go to sleep. Please don't let that be a reflection on the host's capabilities.
It's not a reflection on the host.
Yes,
It's
we
fine.
relaxed her.
Yes.
She's been to school all day already, so she's tired.
It's been a long day.
It is.
All right.
Well, thank you both for joining us today. We loved having you all on our show.
Thank you.
So join us next time for another episode of Inside Plano.